And that's the thing I really want to get to young people out there. So to any young person watching this, I want you to understand that when you're young, when you're in your teens, in your early 20s, but preferably in your teens, you have so much time in your hands. And time is a powerful thing. It has a compounding effect. 10 years, if you work 10 years when at the age of 14 to the age of 24 like I did, there is so much that you can accomplish that will set you up for the rest of your life, or at least for the next 10 to 20 years for sure. But a lot of young people are raised to believe that their teens and their 20s is the period where you waste that time away. And I am telling you, do not do that, okay? Because you will regret it. Because the time will come and go very quickly. I tell you, 10 years is not a long time. It's a very short time. Hey folks, in this video I want to talk about the importance of falling in love with the work that you do and how that is equivalent to true greatness. It's been my experience that very few people know what it's like to fall in love with one's work. Often the concept of falling in love with something or someone is always associated with a relationship, an intimate relationship with a person, or a physical relationship with something. People with a dependence on drugs, alcohol, partying, sex, they have a dependence on physical things. But it is still a relationship that they maintain and that they've fallen in love with. But very few people actually share that same passion and love for their life's work, for their professional craft. And it's my belief that people have that understanding simply because they don't really know what it means to fall in love with something or someone. Now, every one of us has experienced what it's like to fall in love, because we've either fallen in love with someone through a relationship, or we've fallen in love with certain things in our lives, certain things we've habituated, things such as substance abuses, attachments and addictions to things like video games or social media, anything that's external to us that we have a reliance on. Even food is a form of addiction in itself. In all those experiences, we know what it's like to be in love with something or someone where you give your whole mind, body, and soul and attention to that one thing. And the reason why people do that is simple. People tend to give up everything they have to something external, whether that's with a person or with something, simply because that thing that they're so invested in, that they're so committed to, gives them a certain high. Just like how drug addicts, when they take a whiff of smoke, they get high. Just like that same experience, our brain is wired to also hold on to experiences that give us a similar stimulation. And so the only reason why people are so in love with certain things or a certain person is because that person creates that same neurological pathway in their brain, making them feel so alive. And our brain is wired to constantly go after those things. And so that's why we build habits and we have certain inclinations towards things, because we're looking for that dopamine release, right? That hit. And so we all know that when we're in love with something or someone, we go the extra mile. We give everything we have to that thing or to that person, so that we not only maintain the relationship, but we continue to get what it can give to us that nothing else around us can give, right? So it's almost like we're protecting our existence by continuously investing in that relationship so it's maintained in the long run. So the same can be said for people who have substance abuse problems and are dependent on things like drugs, alcohol, etc. The same can also be said for intimate relationships. Like if you think back to a time with your partner or with even your best friend, for example, there are many instances I'm sure you can remember where nothing they asked was ever an inconvenience, right? And you'll know this because when other people ask you about the same things or ask you to go to a certain extent to do certain things, you will most likely say no, right? But if it's that one person or if it's that one thing, you are very religious about it, right? It's like your life depends on it. And so you give absolutely everything you can give to that person or that one thing. And this is also interestingly even truer for abusive relationships. Like people, both men and women who are in abusive relationships, it is very difficult for them to get out of those relationships. Not because they don't want to, but simply because they can't. Because their brain is so wired and so used to being dependent, being manipulated, being lied to, being abused, that the concept of moving to a better reality is a huge risk for the brain, for the physical reptilian brain to take, because your brain will never put you in a situation of unfamiliarity. Your brain always wants things to be certain, things to be very familiar, and so it's always looking to maintain the status quo pretty much. And this is why anytime you try to attempt something new, it's always scary. And that's when you know that's your reptilian brain telling you that this is a risk that I am not willing to take because I am not sure what the end result is going to be. And so I'm creating this fear in you so that you don't do this thing that you're about to do. You don't take this particular risk. So with a lot of people that are in abusive relationships, they will not have the courage to leave those relationships because they're unsure of what's going to happen to them after they make that decision. So in order to maintain that familiar situation, that familiar condition, they continue to stay in that relationship. And the way their brain works is to basically convince them that, the bad moments are not that bad at all, right? Like, you downplay a lot of the horrible things that happen in your life, and your brain tells you that, they're not so bad, so it's not the end of the world. And there are times where this person will love me this much or to this extent. And so you hold on to those small moments of highs, of good times, and you learn to weather the long storms, right, of those really horrible times. And that's how people's brains justify staying in a relationship, because you can't think about how things, like, you can't predict the state of environment you're going to be in when you finally end an abusive relationship, because you're so used to things being a certain way. But people finally learn to break away from toxic, abusive relationships when they finally regain a deep sense of love and appreciation for themselves. And they get to a point where they realize that I can't keep doing this to myself, right? Something has to change. If I continue to stay like this, then I'm going to continue to experience this. And so it's like they're regaining their power, their control, their self-esteem, and most important of all, their love for themselves. And when that happens, a switch is flipped, and they finally realize and have the courage to walk away and say, this is enough. And, that is, in my opinion, no way to live, but unfortunately, that's the reality of things. And as animal beings in this animal body, we're prone to certain things. But life is interesting and exciting in the sense that it always leaves breadcrumbs, it always leaves clues. So for those of you who are not in toxic environments, you're not attached to any toxic things or persons, you're able to, you should be very observant and cognizant of those types of things happening around you through other people's experiences. And most important of all, learn from them. Be the smart one, be the one with the common sense, and learn from those experiences so you don't have to go through it yourself. Now, having said all that, what I find is most interesting is that imagine if people got all that energy, time, attention, and they channeled it into their life's work. Imagine the kind of results they're going to be able to produce, right? Imagine the kind of horizons they're able to reach, the kind of opportunities they're able to attract, and the kind of possibilities they're able to create in their life, and what things they can bring to fruition through that same love and passion and dedication to their life's work. And the unfortunate problem with us as emotional beings is that we rarely ever assess like where our time and energy goes, and our commitment to different relationships, whether that's with a particular person or that's with a physical thing that we're dependent on. And what really mind boggles me is that not many people question what the thing they're so invested and committed in is going to give them. What is the benefit of investing your time in a relationship? What is the benefit of investing your time in drinking booze every weekend and partying with your friends, right? And womanizing or menizing for women who like to sleep around with men. Like, what are all those things that you're so committed to? What are they creating for you? And what are the kind of results are they producing for you? And are they beneficial to you at all, most importantly? And this sort of attitude amongst many people has created this reality where people foolishly live lives for someone else or something else. Like, they're never in control. Like, when you actually assess these people's lives, you get to realize that they have no clue where they're going. and they don't even know why they're doing the things they're doing. Like an intelligent person, a person who's going somewhere, they know why they're doing certain things. Like if you ask them, why are you doing this? They will tell you why. They have a reason behind it, right? They have some sort of logic behind it. But when you ask people who are just sort of, going through life mindlessly like a zombie, when you ask them what they're doing and why they're doing things, they will not have a logical reason for you. They will just give you a stupid emotional answer like, oh, everyone's doing that. Or, isn't that what life is about? I'm young, I get to do whatever I want to do. And it's very sad for people like that who end up living lives like that. So the bottom line I'm trying to communicate here is that when you love something other than yourself, when you love someone other than you love yourself, like when you don't give that same kind of love and attention and focus and commitment, what you're essentially doing in the end is you're neglecting yourself. You're basically saying that, okay, I will not put myself first, and I will put this person first or this thing first. And so the only person in that situation that gets disadvantaged is you, is always going to be you. Even if you don't want to admit it, and even if you don't see it, I'm telling you, that's going to be the case for you. And a simple rule of life that I've tried to live by that's really helped me succeed early on is that you don't owe anyone anything in life, and no one owes you anything in life as well. And when you maintain that simple understanding, and when you live by that simple rule, you'll be very careful with where your time and attention and energy goes into things, right? You'll be very selective of things that you choose to focus on, because now you live with the mindset that, I don't owe anyone anything, so I'm not going to put my life on pause in order to go and pursue someone else or something to benefit them or to benefit my bad habits, right? So I want you to remember this simple rule and try to live by it. It's very important, and it will save you from a lot of trouble and pain in the future if you follow it. Now, if you flip the script and you look at great things in life that bring great rewards with them, great benefits with them, you'll see that they always give back something meaningful. They never take away anything from your life. Like if I go and ask an alcoholic person, right? If I ask, many young people today, can you list at least one benefit that alcohol gives you? They will not be able to list and tell me what that benefit is. Sure, they might give superficial answers like, oh, it helps me to socialize and make sure that I'm around my friends and catch up with them. But is that really a benefit? Is catching up with your friends every weekend going to help contribute to the things you need to do long term? I don't think so. But if you ask people that have invested their time and energy into activities that are going to bring them great reward, they can list you many benefits to those things that are focusing on. And it goes back to the video that I just released about, success being a formula of input is equal to output. It's again, these things are very basic, very commonsensical, and they don't have to be complicated at all. So you have to ask yourself and be very considerate and selective of the things that you're investing into, and really question, is this thing bringing into my life good things? Is it benefiting me in a certain way? Most importantly, is it helping me to progress towards my most important goals? And if the answer is no, then you know exactly what you need to do, which is to cut out those are basically weeds in your mind, and you need to pull them out, because it's very difficult for you to think clearly, for you to act on important things when you've got all this crap in your mind. So you need to be able to make those hard but necessary decisions to progress towards your goal. And if you don't want to pursue a life of meaning, then that's totally fine too, but be very clear at the end of the day what it is you want. That's the most important thing, so you can live life without feeling guilty at all, and on your own terms. So looking back at my story and putting this discussion that we're having here into context about falling in love with your life's work, I was very lucky that I found what I love to do and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life when I was 14. Not many people are lucky to find their life's work at that age. And I knew since I was 14 that I wanted to work with computers. I wanted to study mathematics in all its glorious form. And most importantly, I want to be a teacher to raise the human consciousness, in whatever form that may be. And I believe teaching and the existence of this channel is one way that I do that. It's a start to that passion and that purpose of teaching and raising the human consciousness. And so by the time I was 14, while all my friends, all my peers around the ages of 14, 15, 16, 17, while they were all falling in love with their girlfriends or boyfriends, or building a reliant relationship on drugs and alcohol and partying, etc., I fell in love with my life's work and life's calling. And I gave everything I had to it. And people wonder why I'm so different. Well, that's your answer. I just became obsessed about the thing that I wanted to succeed at the most. And everything I had, I poured it into my life's work. And that pure love that I had for what I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing, it enabled me to succeed early on without much friction. Like, success was always easy for me after I had that realization that this is what I wanted to do, and so this is what I'm going to commit to. So essentially, you hear people who are very crazy and passionate about their work talking about marrying your work. That's what I did. I fell in love with it, and I decided I'm going to marry my work, and that is all I'm going to focus on. And I will put a caveat here that this is not a life for everyone, because it's boring, it's lonely, it's many long hours of work. Many times on that journey you neglect yourself, your health. I've done that. But I know that my relationship with my work is the greatest relationship I will ever have. Even when I get married and have children, I will never share the same relationship with my husband and with my children. It will never be the same. And anyone who has gone through that experience of falling in love with their life's work will understand what I'm talking about. And if you ask my father how I was at 14, he will tell you I was very intense. I was always locked up in my room, studying, tinkering away, experimenting with different things, contemplating different ideas, always hungry for knowledge. I had this very, insatiable thirst for more knowledge and more wisdom. Like, I wanted to know many things at that age, and I had so many questions. And I searched different things to find the answers to the questions that I had at that age. And it is the very reason why I am here today. Without that hunger and that drive and that commitment to my life's work, I wouldn't be sitting here where I am today. And I've built a life where I have financial freedom, where if I decide to come out to a place like this and take a break, I can do so. Like, I can travel anywhere I want to go to. I can choose to go stay at a hotel for a weekend and just relax and take my mind off of things. I can do those things because I've built a life that's afforded such luxuries that not many people have and are able to afford. But it didn't come with the sacrifices that I had to make early on in life. And that's the thing I really want to get to young people out there. So to any young person watching this, I want you to understand that when you're young, when you're in your teens, in your early 20s, but preferably in your teens, you have so much time in your hands. And time is a powerful thing. It has a compounding effect. 10 years, if you work 10 years when at the age of 14 to the age of 24 like I did, there is so much that you can accomplish that will set you up for the rest of your life, or at least for the next 10 to 20 years for sure. But a lot of young people are raised to believe that their teens and their 20s is the period where you waste that time away. And I am telling you, do not do that, okay? Because you will regret it. Because the time will come and go very quickly. I tell you, 10 years is not a long time. It's a very short time. So your focus should be on acquiring the necessary knowledge, which when you apply it, equal the skills you're going to get in life, and then use those skills to then create financial freedom for yourself, financial security for yourself. So that when you're like me in my 20s now, you can do anything, you can go anywhere. And you're not stuck to a dead-end job working 9 to 5 for someone else. You're not living under your parents' roof, no money, having to live by their terms. You're able to create freedom for yourself so that you get to do what you want to do. So, I believe that within everyone lies great work that only they can do, right? There's no, copycat or template of you that God has created. You are unique solely because you are here to serve a unique purpose for humanity. And it is your duty, your responsibility to spend the rest of your life finding that the way that I have spent my life finding mine. Because when you do that, your life will never be the same again. You will never do things because of money or fame, of any external pleasure. You will do things because they fulfill a deeper desire in you. They fulfill a deeper part of who you are as a spiritual being on earth having a human experience. So Your greatness is waiting for you, but you have to be the one to unlock that spark in you. And the only way you do that is by falling in love with your work. That is it, period. So instead of falling in love with things, instead of falling in love with someone, instead of building a dependence on those things, the most reliable thing you can build a dependence on is your life's work. Period. Period. Because you know what? It'll never let you down. It'll never break your heart. It'll never take away from you anything it cannot give back to you tenfold. It'll never do any of those things. So anyone can become great, but you have to be willing to fall in love with your life's work. That is the only way you're going to achieve greatness in your own right. So thank you everyone for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Leave your comments. I read every one of them. Make sure to like and subscribe, and please share the video with anyone in your network that you think will find value in this video. So thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.